Hello everybody and welcome back to my guided playthrough. In the beginning of this playthrough we will start with the passive skill tree. As you can see here on the bottom I have this plus sign with a number 1. That means I have one passive skill point available. That is from last time after I killed Hillock. I gained level 2 and also the skill point. If I click on it, the skill tree opens. And if I use my mouse wheel, I can scroll in or I can scroll out. As you can see, when I scroll out, it looks pretty intimidating. There is already a lot to see. If I want to move around, I can drag and drop the skill tree. I can just hold down my left mouse button and move it around as I like. And also if you move to the side of the skill tree, or to the top or bottom, then it will also move in the direction that you want it to. Because I'm a witch, I will start here at this location. Then you can see similar icons on the tree here, 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 and in the middle. These are the starting locations of the other classes. So a Templar would start here, a Marauder would start here, the Duelist here. Then this one I think is the Ranger, and this one the Shadow, and in the middle you have the Scion. What these starting locations tell you is basically what primary attribute they refer to and what type of skills they support the most. In the top you have mostly intelligence nodes, like this one right here, which give me plus 10 intelligence, and things that correspond to elemental damage and spells. On the Marauder side, you have more the strength nodes and things that correspond to melee attacks, two-handed weapons, and close combat. On the Ranger starting area, you have the dexterity nodes, like this one right here, and everything that has to do with bows, maybe claws, one-handed, fast attacks, things like this. And then you have these characters in between. These are a mix of the adjacent attributes. So if I start a duelist, then he would be right in between the strength and the dexterity, and usually he would be some kind of mix of those two. The same goes with the Templar. He would be in between intelligence and strength, and the Shadow between intelligence and dexterity. The Scion in the middle would be very in the center, and he can just go wherever he wants. But in general, every character can go wherever he wants with his skill points. It's just a question how far he has to go, how many levels he has to invest to get to a specific point. So for me, if I look at the top, I have a search bar here. If I click on it, I can just enter something I want to search for. And in my case, I will search for Minion, because I know I will play a Necromancer and my primary skills will be Minion skills. And now every node on my skill tree that has the word Minion in it will be highlighted like this. This can give you a basic idea where you want to travel on your skill tree. Let's say you're playing a fire-based skill like Fireball. You can just search for fire and then take a look around where you can read fire. Not everything corresponding to fire will relate to the damage that you deal with fire skills. Like if I look at this node down here, it says +1 to maximum fire resistance. If I close this for a moment and go back to my character menu that I showed you in the last episode, and I go to defense again and look at my resistances, These 4 resistances, fire, cold, lightning and chaos, are usually kept at 75%. That's the base resistance cap that you can have. So if you get, let's say, 100% fire resistance, then only 75 of it will be active or will affect you at any time, and the other 25 will just be overcapped but have no immediate effect. But with a node like this one right here, your maximum resistance would be increased by 1, so it would be 76 instead of 75. So for me, like I said, minions. And I can see here, okay, there would be minions have increased maximum life, and minions deal 10% increased damage. This is one very important thing to understand in Path of Exile. If I open my inventory with the Path of I and look at my race zombie skill. A minion skill in Path of Exile, if you look at the name race zombie and one line below it says spell minion. Path of Exile has a very specific way to describe every gem it has. And in this case, the race zombie is a spell. That is something that I can cast, and it is a minion. And minion skills in Path of Exile always work that you cast a spell to create a separate entity which has its own stats, its own attacks or spells, and is not affected by your abilities. So in my case, I already know that zombies are melee attackers. They use one slam skill that has a cooldown and affects an area, and they also have a single target melee attack. So usually you would think, okay, maybe I should invest into some attack nodes that increase my attack power or my attack damage. But the nodes that you get on your tree that affect your attack damage do not affect your minions. If you want to increase your minion damage, then you need to use the nodes on your passive skill tree that specifically state that they affect minions. Like this one right here, minions have 12% increased life. This will affect your minions, but not your character. Your maximum life will not be affected by this. This is very important to understand in Path of Exile. The same goes for bonuses that you get from items. If this Driftwood one says 8% increased spell damage, that only increases my spell damage, but not the spell damage of my minions. Now you could think that, okay, race zombie says spell, increased spell damage, maybe my zombies do more damage. No, that is not the case. The spell damage will only affect the active skill gem spells that deal damage that you cast yourself, like Fireball for example. I do hope that I explained this somewhat understandably, because this is a very important distinction in Path of Exile. So I personally have already some experience with minion skills, so I already know what my endgame skill tree should look like, and I already know what skills I will be using in the future. So I will path a little bit different on my skill tree that you may expect. Because now that I have searched for minion and you look, this is my starting area, these two nodes are highlighted. You can see this with this golden circle around the nodes. That means I can either choose this node right here or this node at the moment. And you may think that, hey, I have some minion life and damage right here. This would be a great path to go up there. But since I already know that I want these nodes right here pretty soon, and in the late game I do not want these nodes, and I also would like to save my respec points, I will go this way. Right here on top you can see at the moment I have 1 skill point left and I have 0 refund points. Because later on or during the campaign you will receive some refund points which allow you to remove an already spent skill point and spend it another way. Okay, but enough theory for now. I will just place my skill point right here. It will increase my spell damage, which later on does nothing for my minions, and it will also give me 16 to mana. So if I look right here, at the moment I have 62 mana. Now I click on the skill tree, then it's activated, and then I click on apply points on the top right here, and now it's spent. You can see it is highlighted. That means it is taken, this node. And if I hover over my mana, you can see now I have 78 mana. If I want to close my windows, I can either click the X or I can just press escape. Another way to open your skill tree, you can either use the menu and then select passive skill tree, and in the brackets you can see the default keybind for it. So if I close the menu again and I just press P on my keyboard, then the skill tree opens as well. When I press escape, I can close it, and now I can continue to the next area. Right here on the top right, you can see this minibar, and this icon right here, this little orange doorway, is a symbol for you that you can leave the area here. If you hover over the exit, then you can see it is highlighted with white, and this means if I click it, then I can leave the area. So I will do this now. It will load the new area. Now I'm here and I can continue my journey.
Just like my sisters.
So here the enemies are already significantly harder than in the area before. I have killed some and you can see here the corpses. And I didn't explain the race zombie skill before, but they basically need a corpse, and if I target a corpse with this skill, then a zombie is raised, and at the current level I can have a maximum of 3 raised zombies. So let's raise some zombies. Just hover over the corpses, press your keybind for the zombie, and now I have my 3 zombies. At the moment you can see I have the health bars enabled. On the top left you can see the icon for my zombies and the number that I have 3 active. Regarding the health bars, if I press escape and go to options, somewhere in the options there is an option to enable these health bars, but honestly once again I'm not quite sure where it is. I would suspect that it's somewhere either here, maybe in the graphics. No, UI. Show mini life bars on enemies or on allies. As you can see, my zombies are just killing some monsters for me. These are the options. So you can enable them on the enemies and on your allies. If I click here, you can see they are gone. I personally like them, so have them enabled. Let's continue. The minimap, you can see this blue line distinguishes between the discovered area, where you can already see the obstacles, and the undiscovered area around. My zombies keep attacking, which is good. I can cast my fireballs if I want. And these are some interactable objects, similar to barrels. If I click on it, then there may be some items dropping. Like I said before, in the beginning I like to sell some basic items to get maybe some more scrolls of wisdom. So I pick some things up. This one right here is a little bit more interesting. This is a chain belt. It is a belt which gives me +1 to energy shield. if you can remember from last time, the energy shield is something similar to my health bar, but it will regenerate. So right now I have 6 energy shield, and I will pick it up. It will automatically be equipped, and now I have 18. Now you can think, hey, wait a minute. 6 plus 11 is 17 and not 18. Why do you have 18 energy shield now? That is because if I press my C key to open my character menu and hover over intelligence, I can see some information. 2 intelligence gives me 1 mana, and 5 intelligence gives me 1% increased energy shield. Because I have 32 intelligence, that means I already have 6% increased energy shield. And that's just how it goes. The 17 plus 6% is 18 in this case. Usually when it comes to numbers that are not whole numbers, then the game will usually round down. Another thing that you can see, I have dropped an orb of transmutation here. In the last video, I showed you when we were selling items that we got some shards, and if the stack size of shards is reached, I think it may be 10 for the shards of transmutation, then they will be converted to the orb of transmutation. Similar to the fragments of wisdom, or what they are called, that I got from selling the normal items, then they are then converted to scrolls of wisdom. I click on it, I can pick it up, and you can see my zombies are already pretty badly damaged, and I also only have 2 and not 3 anymore. So I can just press T to summon a new one, and now that I have 3, if I summon another one, then one of the older one gets replaced by a new one. This way I can also replace the health bar or reset the health bar. Right here on the right side, you can now see that all 3 of my gems that I'm using leveled up. If I use a left click on the plus icon, then I can level up the gem, and usually they become stronger this way. If at any point I have a gem that I do not want to level up, I can use a right click. I will just show this right here, for example. Then it is removed from here. And if I open my inventory menu, I can also see the gems that are ready to level up here. I will close it again and just handle these 2 first. So I want to level up my race zombie and my Arcane Surge. So I click on this plus icon. Then I go to my inventory again, and now I can only see my fireball here, which I used a right click on before. So if you ever by accident right click a gem that leveled up on the right side and you can't find it anymore, but you want to level it up, then you can find it right here. If I press on the plus sign here, then it will also level up. I can check it now. You can see the 3rd line, it says level 2. The same for Arcane Surge. For Arcane Surge, now the stats have also been a little bit adjusted. You need more mana to get the buff, but you will also get more mana regeneration and more spell damage. And my race zombies, that's another special thing in Path of Exile. In-game you will hardly get any useful information about the stats of your race zombies, because your race, or in general your minions, because your minions also have a certain amount of life, they have a certain amount of damage they do, and specific stats. If you want to have these informations, you will have to use external tools. One of which is the wiki, which I will link in the video's description, and another one is an external tool that lets you build your character to test out some things, and it's basically a character planner with a lot of information and a lot of possibilities. There are tutorials out there for this tool which are 2 hours long, and it's called Path of Building. I will leave the link in the description as well, and I think I have a link to a guide of one of the other YouTubers. I will leave this as well. Now you can see I have opened the map on a larger scale right here. This is done by pressing the tab key. I'm not quite sure if I changed the key or if this is the default, but in the input section of your options you can also find it here, the overlay map, and you can just set it to the key that you want. Now I will continue in the campaign and let's see what we find. As you can see, I'm already missing quite a bit with my fireball. That is one reason why I like to play minions, because they just search for the enemy themselves. And here you can see, this is the first harder boss in the game that you will encounter. With my minions, it's still pretty easy, and here you can see my energy shield recharging. Forgot that to mention before. Now, because my mana is low, I will just use a mana pot and summon my zombies again. And here you can see my first rare items that dropped. Some iron greaves and a driftwood maul. This one is not very useful to me because I'm using zombies this playthrough. Okay, and now my inventory is full. I can take a look here. One thing that I really do like to identify early on are boots, because boots can have movement speed on them. Okay, these ones do not, but they do have some life and some life regeneration. Life regeneration is very nice for me personally early on, because your life does not regenerate naturally. That's also a reason why I do like energy shield in the beginning, because if you have a little bit of energy shield, then every fight you have a little buffer that you can take damage, and it will just refill automatically and you don't have to worry about anything. Then I will just unequip these boots and equip these boots, and now you can see the bar for my energy shield gets smaller again when I equip these boots. The size of the bar for my energy shield is dependent on the ratio between life and energy shield. If I have a lot of life but very little energy shield, then the energy shield will also be displayed very thin here. If the ratio gets a little bit narrower, I have a little bit less life. In this case, then the bar will be a little bit thicker. Then what you can see here as well is these boots in the second line have evasion rating 16, as well as this shield has also an evasion rating of 18. Evasion is one of the defenses that you can have in Path of Exile. It just gives you a chance to evade melee attacks. When it says that you approximately, in average, evade maybe 20%, then behind that is actually a pretty complicated formula where it basically states that you have a fixed amount of attacks that you can evade against specific enemies before they hit you. So it's not 100% random, but in general it just means you have a chance to evade. That's pretty much all you have to remember. Armor, I already mentioned it in the last episode, reduces physical damage from hits that you take. And energy shield is just a little bit more similar to life that you can take. So a little bit more damage that you can take. So in general it just increases your effective hit pool. Then one thing to mention is usually armor items correspond to strength, Evasion items correspond to dexterity, and energy shield items correspond to intelligence. Okay, a short time ago we leveled up again. I will just go a little bit further because I know what is coming. Here we have a waypoint. If I click on the waypoint, it becomes active and I get to this map. If you see an area that looks like this on the map, just an empty circle, then you cannot teleport there. But you can always teleport to a town or to another area with a waypoint. So at the moment I just want to go back and empty my inventory. So I teleport to the town and I'm here at the waypoint and can just move. I can take another look at my items. I may be interested in the shield, maybe it has some stats that I can use, but at the moment I don't have any scrolls of wisdom, so I will just sell the other items that I have. And because I'm selling 5 normal items, I get 5 scroll of fragments and they are converted to 1 scroll of wisdom. I accept the trade, go to my inventory and I identify this item. Okay, it has a little bit more armor and nothing special. This shield gives me movement speed. I like movement speed, so I just keep this one and sell the larger shield. And these items I just store in my stash for now. Now I go to my passive skill tree and get a little bit more intelligence because I want to pass this way. And what I didn't mention is you always see lines between some nodes, and these lines indicate where you can path to. So I just clicked this node, but I did not apply yet. So if I click it again, I can remove this point. And if you look closely, then you can see it will highlight these 2 points and this one right here, but the others are not highlighted. That's because these points are all that I can take at the moment. Because this is my starting point, I can go here, or because I took this node, I can go here or here, because they are connected through this line. This is basically how you pass through the passive skill tree. Now I click the intelligence, I press apply, and my skill point is spent. Just a little check. Okay, inventory is empty. Now I go to the waypoint, and here you can see now that inside the circle there is this other circle, which means this area has an discovered waypoint where I can teleport to, which I will do. Now that I'm here, you can see here on the map that there are 2 icons of doorways where I can go to, and I will just take this path right here. Because I'm so used to it, I didn't really show you, but in the quest menu or the map menu, when you press M and you click on this active quest, then you can see that we actually have this quest to find the medicine chest in the tidal island, and this is the area that I'm currently in now. If I close this, and if you look at the top right, you can see I'm currently at the tidal island. You can see what level my monsters have here, the league that I'm playing here. I'm actually not quite sure what short allocation means, and the server that you are playing on, or the realm where you're playing. If I press my tab again, then you can see here the mini map, and the other information is displayed while you have the overlay map active. So with my keybind set to tab, I can switch between those 2 views. And as you can see, these enemies shoot some projectiles, and I'm just keeping my distance and trying to evade these projectiles. And these are also special enemies that don't leave a corpse, so I cannot raise my zombies here. One thing that you can do is if you... Okay, somebody is shooting at me. I don't need this right now, but for later on, if you go to your options, to your input, there is enable corpse targeting, a key with a keybind that you can set. I have mine set to A, and there is also an option in the game menu, corpse targeting is enabled when the key is held, or you can set it to always enable. I prefer this one right here. And what this corpse targeting means is if I hover over a corpse and I press the A key, then on the top center you can see cannibal corpse. This will help later on if you want to summon specific minions. So now I can summon 2 zombies because I have 2 corpses here, and now my energy shield just jumped up. That's because I picked up a simple rope which has 16 energy shield. As you can see, I'm moving quite a lot, and usually in a kind of circle. That's just because it's pretty easy to avoid slow projectiles from enemies this way. And also my zombies take a lot of the hits, and if I keep my distance, then I can play a little bit safer. Especially now that I started this character in hardcore, I really want not to die. Okay, and this is another boss, well, little boss right here. One of the stronger enemies in the beginning, and he casts these ice spikes. And usually in Path of Exile, frost damage can slow you or freeze you. Fire damage can leave a fire debuff on you that deals damage over time. That is called Ignite. And lightning damage can usually shock you, which increases damage taken from hits. And as you can see here, the way I move, I just use the way the enemy targets, but now I'm failing pretty hard. So he basically targets where I would be. Okay, but I will just try to kill him and stop failing. I don't want to risk dying. But this is one way how you can make this boss a little bit easier for you. And now he's burning as well, taking damage over time, and he dies. This was the Ignite, because my fireball has 25% chance to ignite. Right here he dropped the town portal. The green item right here is the medicine chest, and then a rare, a magic, and some normal items. I will just leave these normal items right here. Now that I have finished the quest, I get the exclamation mark icon right here. I can click it, and it tells me to go back to the town, to Nessa, to get my reward. Now I have some options. I could either use a town portal scroll right here to open my town portal to immediately get back to town, or I could go back the way that I came, or I could go back the other way, because if I look at my overlay map, you can see there is a way and it loops all the way around. So here are fresh enemies which give me XP, and I do not want to use my town portal, so I will just go this way. Another option that I would have at this point is I could leave the game and exit to the character selection menu and then just start the game again, because when you start the game you will be starting in the town again. So I basically would save going back to town manually, and it's similar to just teleporting there but not using a town portal. Okay, now I just want to show my energy shield again. You see now I took a hefty hit, I wait a little bit and my energy shield gets refilled. And I also leveled up. And when leveling up, you also get a little bit of life. That's why my energy shield bar got smaller again, because my life pool got larger. The skill point, once again, right here. Depending on your skills that you are using, you will go different routes on your passive tree. In the beginning, when you're starting out, you may even want to take these nodes because they are early damage and early life. It basically all depends on you. Especially when you're starting out, you can just try out a few things. In theory, you can respec later on. You don't get too many respec points, but you get some. And if you spend all your respec points and you want to play something else, you can always just play a different character. Okay, now my inventory is pretty full. I talked to Nessa to get my reward, and she will offer me one of those 3 flasks. One is a bigger life flask, which recovers more life. The small one will only recover 70 life. This one 150 life. Then a larger mana flask, and a quicksilver flask increases my movement speed for 6 seconds. And this flask has 60 charges and it consumes 30 when I use it. So it has 2 uses before it depletes if I don't kill any enemies in between. So I like running faster, so I will take this flask, and then she offers me a second reward. I already know what I want to take, but I will just hover over them for you so you can read them. If you want to read them in full, just pause the video, or you can read them when you play your own playthrough. I want Summon Phantasm support, so I will take this one. And now I look at my equipment. I can see my zombies have only one link available, which is red, and this is a blue gem, so I cannot socket it here. So for now, I will just socket my Summon Phantasm support. It is a support gem, this is important to know. In here, it has no effect in here because this gem slot is not linked to anything, but I want this gem to already get some experience. This support gem says that if an enemy is killed with a linked supported skill, then there is a chance for this skill to summon phantasms, which are also minions that would attack enemies. I will use this later. I will just equip it here for now. Then I move my mana flask over because I want my quicksilver flask in this slot. And now I'm just selling some items again.
God hasn't abandoned us.
I will keep the portal scroll and the wisdom scroll. Now that I have 5 more fragments, I will get a second wisdom scroll, and the items are just here. These items can be used later on. Well, I can use them now as well. If I go to purchase, then you can see this NPC sells me some items. Here are some basic belts. These increase the global physical damage that my character does. Here are some energy shield belts, some wands to buy, some flasks. I can also buy some rings and amulets. These basic amulets give me life regeneration. That would be nice in the beginning. These amulets right here give me mana regeneration. This would also be very nice in the beginning of the game. I could actually buy it. Usually I just get an amulet dropped, which I will use then. I'm just waiting for one of my new skills. When I get it, then I may consider just buying one of these amulets if I don't find one by then. You could also always use mana flasks. Many people do, but I personally just don't like using flasks that much. I would much rather have passive regeneration that is high enough to sustain my spells. Then right here I can switch to a second sight. If I do this, then I can see some skills. Some of these skills have already been offered to me for the quest reward. You can see in the first row, and these two in the second row are from the first quest that was completed, from the Kill Hillock quest. And there are some additions, like these ethereal knives, for example, we did not see before. And I think the kinetic bolt maybe, or maybe the freezing pulse, magma, lightning tendrils. Some of these are new, and some we have already seen. And here are the support gems, and some of them have just been offered to me now. Depending on what skill you're using, specific support skills are more or less important, or some are even completely useless. Now I can talk to the other NPCs as well. And if I look at my quest menu again, you can see I have the medicine chest quest is completed, and I have gotten 2 new quests. If I click on one quest, you can see currently I'm at the town. This is symbolized by this little green icon that you can see here. And this yellow line shows you to which areas I have to go. And this circle with these little things sticking out display, okay, this is the area where I can complete this quest right here. And this In Search of the Sanctum quest is just to introduce me to the current league mechanic, because this is the Forbidden Sanctum League, and this quest will show me how to interact with the league mechanic. But this is all for this episode. I hope I could show you something that was helpful, and have fun playing the game. Goodbye.